Today's episode is sponsored by Eco Roofing. Eco is led by a third-generation Arizona roofer who is also the president of the Arizona Roofing Contractors Association. They offer free estimates and the best warranties in the states for shingle and tile roofs. They love giving back to their community and will always be here to serve you. Welcome to episode 66 of The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. I am your host, Janine Igliane, with my co-host, Ryan Hatcher.
What's up, guys?
And our guest today is Nellie. Nellie is my trainer over at F45. She is the head trainer of the Gilbert East location. Just a little bit about Nellie. So she is, like I said, currently the head coach. She graduated from NAU with a bachelor's degree in exercise science and is currently in nursing school pursuing a BSN. This is going to be a fun episode, you guys. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. I think you're going to walk away with some really good tips and hopefully some inspiration as well to go be healthy. So Nellie, thanks for being with us.
Of course, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you guys having me on here.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So tell us, so we kind of like to start at the very, very beginning. We want to know, like, where did you grow up and kind of how did you get to be where you're at today?
Well, I grew up in the West Valley, so I went to high school out there. My parents always worked in the East Valley, so they're always commuting from Surprise to Scottsdale or Tempe. So once I finally went off to school, they moved over here to the East Valley. When I went back, obviously when
college?
I graduated, when I went to NAU, they moved here just because it was closer for them. There's no reason keeping them over there anymore. And then I just moved here too after I graduated, lived with them for a little bit, got my bearings. Now I live with my sister and we're in downtown Gilbert. But yeah, the whole idea behind going to NAU was to pursue physical therapy. And after working in a PT clinic for a little while, it was just not my pace, not my speed. I loved everything about it. I loved helping people. But just the day-to-day, like seeing myself in that environment, I couldn't. So then I jumped right in actually immediately into EMT school while I was working at Orange Theory with Jordan, who is the current owner of, obviously, the place that I work at now, F45. So I was doing that, still trying to get my bearings of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do something medical. I just wasn't sure exactly what yet. So as I was going to EMT school, I started working in sales for Orange Theory. Once I got my EMT, I left. I worked as a patient tech for an autoimmune and oncology clinic up in North Scottsdale. And I had started that right when COVID started. So it was immediately jumping into the medical field in a different way. Because all of a sudden it was very, just how you had to interact was different. And so it was a good learning experience, especially in that environment, because it was a naturopath. I was working with naturopaths. So having their outlook of like a big epidemic like that, but approaching it holistically was something that I could see myself continue doing. It's something that I wanted to carry out with me in my life.
I love
just
that.
a holistic approach to things. For the longest time, I actually did not want to work at F45. Jordan had kept calling me and he's like, we're opening new locations. I need someone who has experience with sales, with reaching out to people. And I don't know why I said no, but I just said no. I was like, no, I don't want to go back to that. It felt kind of like backtracking, you know, like I was trying to progress through something, figure out what I wanted to do. But eventually I broke down. I was like, you know what? Actually, like extra income would be good. I wouldn't even have to go anywhere in person yet because our studios weren't even open. So it was just a lot of like on the phone, talking to people, calling people, trying to get them to sign up for something that's not open too, which was really hard. But after doing that for a while, I started coaching because I don't know if you were there when Tyler was there. Do you remember Coach Tyler? He was one of our like opening coaches early on. And we were having a training with everyone there. It was coaches, it was sales associates, and obviously Jordan, the owner, was there, and we were just going through like a mock kind of class because F45 is something completely different when it comes to group training in my experience. So we were doing like the little class intros that we do when you're explaining what's going on and then you're demoing it. And just for fun, I was like, yeah, I can do it. And Jordan and Tyler were all like, you actually are very comfortable talking to people in a big public setting. You know what you're talking about, because obviously I did go to school having that exercise science background. And I was actually surprised too, because I actually enjoyed it. I was like, I think I could do this. And it was very learning how to say something, like following a script in a sense, and then having class start. That's where kind of like a little of the disconnect was happening. But then we had really good coaches come in, like Brandon, who kind of helped made that connection of, yes, you can have all the knowledge, but now you need to apply it to a way that people, one, want to listen and where it's fun. And I was like, I agree. And like coming from working in physical therapy, it was like, you're here because you need to be here. Like you need to follow a prescription of exercise. And then incorporating that into group training, it's like you switch. Like you realize that you are sometimes the reason for people wanting to come, because then it's like you're their motivator, you're their confidant, you know, like little things like that. So it's been a learning journey, still learning. I feel like that's one thing that I love about it is obviously I have knowledge to share, but I also learn on how to connect with people from different backgrounds in different ways. So that's been the one thing that I think I cherish the most out of coaching. Is sometimes I've stopped looking at it as like, oh, we're gonna have a class, but it's like, how can I connect with someone today, or how can I have someone else make a connection with someone else today?
So you mentioned F45 is different than other group workouts, right? So for those that aren't familiar with F45, tell us what is different about it.
The biggest thing that I can speak to, honestly, within our studios is just the community. I used to be the same way. You would go in, you work out, headphones on, head down, get in, get done. Now I feel like with F45, just kind of the programming in general, it does kind of incorporate more of like that community feel. Like you don't feel alone working out. And I think that's one of the biggest motivators ever. You're having your coach there. You're usually working out at a station with other people. So even though you're doing the same movement, it's not like you're going through it alone. Obviously the programming too is always amazing because you can always just modify what you want to do or what you're capable of doing. You're not very limited in the sense. So having a workout and then having it be fun, I think are two very hard things to do. And in my experience, as far as like where I've been and obviously where I'm working now, that's where I feel like we're able to kind of mesh the both. Like it's a workout, like even you were saying earlier, it's 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
You're in, you're out, and then you just feel better right after.
I mean, you really do. Like I don't go to the gym because I prefer my garage. At least right now, I may. You guys,
we'll get you back in there.
I think you will actually. But when I was there, I went for like a week or so, and it was fun and it was intense, but it wasn't crazy, you know. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that's what's great about F45 is that, and this isn't even supposed to be a commercial, but it kind of is, right?
It's not a sponsorship.
It doesn't matter your fitness level, right? We have all across the board, like crazy intense, like super buff dudes, and then we have older ladies that aren't able to move that much, and they're there doing it, and you guys are able to help modify and make it harder or easier for them. It's also never the same, which is my last gym that my husband and I got so bored of it because it was like, okay, we're doing the same workout again. It's just always changing. And then the people, as you were saying, and honestly, you and Brandon are like awesome too. You guys are so like welcoming and just make it fun, and it's like, huge. So I want to go back though, Nellie, to like the very beginning. What made you even decide to choose exercise science? Like what made you interested in that?
Well, I grew up playing volleyball my whole life. So went into a club league, was going to go college, but it was very far away. This is private. And I knew that I wanted education beyond just a bachelor's degree. Like I was going to go on either pursue a master's or something else, or in my case now, another bachelor's degree, that I didn't want to get caught up in paying that off just to go play. But actually during my time playing, I went to go see a physical therapist myself. This was when I was living in the West Valley. His name was Brian. Oh my gosh, I feel like I could even remember his last name, but I don't. He actually kind of changed my outlook on that. When I was going to physical therapy, he was very involved and he explained things. And I just love when someone breaks it down for me. Like,
tells you the why.
Tells you the why.
Yeah.
Like, obviously I'm there to get better, but and it was so funny. It was a muscular injury. It was nothing like super serious. It was just using muscles incorrectly, like not activating. And that's why I had pain. So he would just break it down to a level which I just understood so well. And every time that I was in the session with him, I'd be like, I want to do this. Like, I want to kind of portray that same kind of information in a way where people understand it and then also can kind of go on and help someone else. So that was like my first experience with something medical, obviously something still involving movement. But now it's just kind of progressed. Like, nursing for me now is, I feel like I can understand how to be supportive with someone. And the biggest thing too is just education, like educating someone on their health and understanding why it's important to maybe incorporate things like exercise, like switching up your nutrition to help yourself rather than relying on taking a pill or going for like an infusion or anything like that.
Let's talk about some of that, because I think anybody listening could really benefit from that. So you just said something I thought was interesting. You said nutrition over a pill. Even supplements?
Yeah, I mean, supplements are always good. I think a lot of the times, though, people are just unaware of, and there's a lot of information out there, too, that makes it so confusing of what's actually healthy. You know, like, there's so many apps. Even my parents have this one app. I don't know what it's called. I think it's called, like, Yuka or something, where you scan the barcode and it says good or bad, just based off of, like, the additives and all that stuff. And I think all of that information is so overwhelming, especially like right now. Obviously the biggest thing that we talk about in school is diabetes, how it's increasing, how they're not even calling type 1 juvenile diabetes anymore because people that are younger are getting diabetes.
Wow.
And I think the biggest thing is just obviously knowing what food is good for you and understanding too that a pill shouldn't be supplementing your choices. So just because you're taking a medication because it's supposed to help, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be the only thing that helps. Like, this isn't just to help you continue living the way you're living. It's supposed to actually help you as you're trying to make little changes here and there to overall make yourself healthy, not just relying on that one thing.
I once heard a trainer talk about the fitness, like if you want to be fit, your nutrition plan, 2% only should be supplements. You think is that about right?
I don't think you need very much. I think especially depending on what your goal is and what you're training for, that's always going to impact it. But the biggest thing is just from what you can actually actively consume. So I always tell people that want to like increase their protein, I was like, let's see if we can do it naturally before we start adding things like shakes.
5 protein shakes.
Yeah, exactly.
A day. Yeah.
Because ultimately, yes, like food is always going to digest better. Having that supplemental food or that kind of, just additive is going to take longer. I know, I understand it's like for time. Sometimes, I do that too. You just got to grab something and go. Yeah. But if you're able to grab something natural versus something artificial.
Yeah. Single ingredient foods.
Yeah.
So why do you think there's an increase in diabetes?
Just
and even in with our kids, really?
I think we're living life too fast and we're not taking time to be conscious of what we're putting in our bodies. I mean, I'm guilty of it too. When I get home at like 7:30, the last thing I want to do is cook for myself. Right. So I'm going to probably heat something up and just call it a day. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest reason why. And then, I don't know, sugar is always a big thing.
Yeah.
It's out there.
It's in everything.
It's in everything.
I know. Ray always sends me these like videos of how bad sugar is because that's my weakness is sweets.
Same here.
I'm like,
Same
don't send me this.
I'm such a big sweet tooth person.
Are you?
Yeah.
I could just have a little bit though and be fine. That's the difference.
Yeah.
Like, give me a couple bites and then I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah, she'll get a big old cinnamon roll and have one bite.
Truly. And then I'm good. It like just satisfies it,
I wish I had that restraint, but I don't. I was like, I'll finish everything that's
right in front of me. That's Ray too. So when it comes to like just overall best practices to live a healthy life, what would you say somebody should do?
I would say find something that you enjoy that involves moving your body. It doesn't have to be intense. It doesn't have to be strenuous or feel like it has to be so challenging that it's hard for you to do. I think something as simple as going for a walk every day, or even if it like involves, I don't know, some sort of community. Like I know like the run clubs are very big right now, and I was like, you can make it a jog or a walk club. Like don't feel like you gotta
hiking's huge here.
Hiking, anything that moves your body. And then also just, I would say when it comes to like food, reaching for something that's natural, easier for you to make before you're looking for something to heat up or something that you can buy in like a drive-through.
Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously I think there's different aspects of health.
Yeah.
You have your community health. So are you communicating with people every day in your life? Do you have someone you feel like you can talk to, share things with? Spiritual health is always going to be a big thing too. Do you feel like you have something that you believe in order to make connection with, you know? And then everything else in between, family, friends, is always good to have.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing is, I love that you said that your health is not just your physical body, right? But like mentally, where are you at? And that can really impact your physical body too. 100%. And so I love the idea of the importance of being in community. And I think that's what F45 does really well is it does give you a chance to meet people and to make connection, and it's fun to go to the workout. And I'm not like a morning person, so sometimes when I come in, I'm just like, don't talk to me.
I know who's a morning person and who's not a morning person.
Yeah.
And the way that I approach you is always going to be different.
Yeah.
I know people that are ready for the chipper and people that are like, I am barely waking
right.
up. I don't need you yelling with excitement.
Yeah. But it's nice when someone's there and they're just like, hey, Janine, you know, it's just nice. Everybody needs that, like a smiling face, you know? And then I love that you said the spiritual component too, because I think it gives you a deeper meaning to what all of this is about. And that's huge too.
It's overall wellness, not just being fit, right? So, Nellie, what are some non-negotiables for you?
Like in life?
Yeah. So you could, that could be just fitness. Like, for example, one of mine now is I have to get 10,000 steps a day, period.
I think I kind of honestly switch out of that mindset because one, with work, with school, I still work per diem as like an exercise physiologist for Banner.
Oh, wow.
So like my schedule, I think one of my non-negotiables is listening to my body. And I try to move every day, but the pace at which I move is going to be completely different every day. There's days where I feel really good and I'm like, actually feel like jumping around, doing all these things. And there's days where I'm like, I think if I don't move, I'm just going to get anxious. So I'll go for a walk. I'll do some very light weights. But yeah, no, my non-negotiable is not overwhelming myself because I did that a lot in the past year. It's when I still had working my full-time job at Banner, working part-time at F45, and then going to school at night. And I wasn't sleeping. Mentally, I was all over the place. I honestly don't know how I passed that first block, but somehow I did. But I was just everywhere in life, and so it was hard.
No, I can relate to that. I think it's important to listen to your body, right? Let pain be your guide. If it hurts, then you probably shouldn't be doing it repetitively, right? My son's struggling with a heel injury that's just persistent, and really just needs to stop working. He needs to stop running for 3 days or 4 days, and so that's what he's doing right now. Sometimes you just got to pause.
Sometimes that's the hardest thing though. What would you say, Nellie, are like best practices when it comes to wanting to get in shape? I know I was reading something, and F45 even kind of switched it, right? We used to have more cardio days than strength, and now it's switched. And we have more strength days than cardio. And I heard that, especially for women, that building that strength up versus just cardio all the time is actually really good for you. Creatine is another one.
Big topic.
So tell me.
I think the best tips for getting in shape is just committing to a program. I think that's the hardest thing to do. Having something where you're kept accountable, like you mentioned, people, hey, Janine. So they don't even just say hey to you. Sometimes when they don't see someone for a while, they're like, hey, where's Janine been? Is she okay? I'm like, So it's just coming on like beyond us as your trainers.
Nice. So
finding something in a community that gets you out there is going to be the biggest thing that helps keep you accountable. Finding something that you enjoy to do. And I don't, as far as like tips on, what did you ask? Like
just like strength versus cardio and all of that.
Your goals are always going to dictate what you should be doing more of. But ultimately, I think, especially like working the fields that I have with like physical therapy and as an exercise physiologist, I think strength training is always going to be the best, functional training especially. And the difference is really like, are you working on movements that will help you maintain your activities of daily living throughout your life? Something as simple as a squat. For right now, it's just work for us. Like, oh, let's add weight to it. But in the future, it's like, can you lift yourself off from a chair, from
or
the bed?
the toilet.
The toilet.
Yeah, when you're 90 years old.
When you're not around anyone that's there to help you. Just little things like that. I think that's been the biggest thing for me that I've realized. It's like, are you still doing movement that you're going to be able to do in your future?
Right.
You know, like how do you want to show up for yourself in the future? Or what do you want to be able to do is what you should be working on right now.
So I've seen videos where, like fitness videos where they talk about certain things that will help you with longevity so that you can open a can of, a jar when you're older or get off the toilet or whatever. And one of them said that your quad strength, your upper legs is one of the most important things.
That has to deal with, what is it, like mortality or something?
Yeah, right.
I've heard that too. I've heard that with grip strength as well. I think honestly the biggest thing is like, are you still capable of working within your full range of motion?
Yeah.
Despite your muscle mass?
Yeah, I don't think it's important to squat 400 pounds.
I don't think so either.
But can you move without falling when you're 80, right?
We, I think I've talked to you guys about this before, the Netflix special on the blue zones where it highlights like the healthiest people that live the longest. And some of the things that those, which you should watch it if you haven't, you probably find it so interesting. But the community, some of the things that they have in common, like one of the communities that lives the longest, they have a great sense of community within themselves. They do a lot of like community outreach and stuff like that. Another area, I think it was in Japan, they simply just sit on the floor to eat, and so they have to get up when they're done. There's another one where they have to like walk up and down hills all the time for work and groceries and whatever. Just the act of doing that, like those simple things, it's so crazy. So yeah, don't take that for granted and make sure that you can still do that. I look at my dad, and he's had a lot of like issues. He broke his back young and broke his neck and just lots of things, and it's really created in him where he has like limited range of motion in so many different areas, and I see how it impacts him. It's really, really hard for him, leads to a lot of pain, so trying to avoid that as much as possible.
I think it's definitely how much you invest in yourself and your health right now that'll make an impact, because my grandma is the same way. She has a lot of health issues, but like her life growing up, she never really prioritized exercise or nutrition. I mean, sometimes you just don't have that kind of knowledge anyway, like if it's something you didn't grow up with and it's kind of hard to get into. But just, I think the first most important thing is recognizing that and then seeking help when you don't know what to do. There's been other studies too about community and how good it is for even just cognitive health. The population that I work with at Banner, a lot of them have Parkinson's disease, which is not only like a movement disorder, but it's also can translate into a cognitive disorder. But keeping people in community that have that too, it's been shown to help so much more. So I think the biggest thing too is like, yes, being active, obviously that's going to be the best thing for you, but also like if you're able to do that with someone or other people, I think that's also very helpful too.
I love that. See, Ryan, you shouldn't be working out alone.
I know.
See, this is all just to get you to come out of your garage.
Well, it may work.
It's true though. Like when I know I'm going to the gym and I know, I'll have people there, it's more fun, right? Versus like if I randomly go to like a time I don't normally go to and I don't know anyone, I'm like, oh, this is so weird.
I know what I'll do. I'm going to pick out the dudes that we know and I'm going to compete with them. That's what I'm going to do.
There you go. Little friendly competitions.
Never hurt anybody, right? When I think about, so we talked a lot about like kind of health and wellness and just like the overall body. Gratitude's another really big one that is super important to me. And it's been really fun. I've been doing this with my son at night. Like, buddy, tell me 3 things you're grateful for today. 3 things that you won at. Like, what were your wins today? And at first it was really hard for him to do that. And he was like, I don't know, Mom. And I'm like, well, what about this? What about that? And now we've been doing it more regularly, and he can like pop off with those. And I love that because I feel like his brain is now rewired to look for those wins throughout the day.
That's cool.
And that's like a way better focus than just focusing on the negative, because there's always going to be crap in our day, right? But when we can look at the wins, that's really powerful.
Yeah, 100%. I think sometimes too, maybe we get too used to having big wins, you know, like a graduation or a promotion, where it's hard to like step back and be like, I made it through the day.
Right.
And it was a long day.
Yeah.
I had so many things to do. But yeah, I definitely been caught up in that cycle too of always working towards the next thing, where I just don't stop and appreciate like where I've been. Like even talking to you guys about the progression of how I came to coach, I didn't even, like, it's been a while since I've thought about that, but it's been like maybe, like 3 or 4 years now since I was just working as a sales associate, and now it's just like on the other side of things. So I think taking time to celebrate little victories too is like the hardest for us to do, because I know I struggle with it, because it's like, in a sense, is I haven't worked hard enough yet to earn it, but in reality, it's hard doing.
That reminds me, I once heard a guy tell a story about how he got in shape, and he was not used to doing anything. So what he would do is he put his shoes by the bed, he got up, and then he put them on and drove to the gym and just walked in the front door and then turned around and walked out. He didn't even work out. And he did this the next day and the next day. And he was, I thought it was actually really fascinating, because he was trying to build this muscle of getting up and doing the hard of getting there. And then eventually he's like, okay, I'm here, I might as well do something. But he knew himself enough to know, I'm just going to get up and go stand and like walk in the door and turn around and walk out, which I thought was crazy, but it worked for him, you know? So
well, that's why I think it's great that you have to book your workout, especially the morning times, because then it holds you accountable to going.
Because you have to pay.
Right.
Pay
If
for
you
it.
and you're like, okay, I already booked it, and then it just takes that guesswork out of it. I just did the video, I don't know, yesterday about this. Like, if I waited until I felt like it, I guarantee you, especially not being a morning person, I would have every reason not to go to the gym in the morning, right? So you can't listen to those feelings. You have to do it anyways. And do it because it's the right thing to do. And then you never regret it.
You feel so good after.
Yes, I've never regretted a workout. I've never been like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have gone. Like, no, I always feel the other way. So reminding myself of that. I think it also trains your body to do hard things. Sometimes when I'm at the gym working out, in fact, somebody else said this to me. I was working out, I forget who, it was Frank. And we were working out, and it was a hard, I don't remember what it was, but we were doing something hard, and I was like, dang, this is a hard workout. And he's like, but hard is so good. He's like, because now we can go crush the day. And I was like, you're right. Like, doing the hard stuff now trains your body that you can do hard stuff later, and you can be successful, and there's like victory on the other side of that. So that like gives you motivation to go through those hard times, which I really love.
I love that. We talk about this a lot with the basketball team that I help coach, is if you choose hard now, your life will be easier later. But if you choose easy now, your life will get harder.
Yeah.
And I think about, I'm at the age now where, you know, we've been out of high school for several decades, and you look at some of the people
like,
that
not several. Is it?
Well, I'm in my
I'm
mid-40s.
coming up on my
Is it 3?
10-year
No.
anniversary.
I mean, that's several.
Dang. Okay.
Two's a couple, but yeah.
Ryan, you're killing me.
So, okay, we're in our 40s, right? And if you look at some of the people that you went to school with and the decisions that they've made, some look like they're 60, some look like they're 30, you know, we're in our 40s. So it really comes down to what daily decisions are you making, what actions are you taking that maybe are hard now or were a decade ago, but they have long-lasting benefits over the next several years. So basically what I do now is going to impact what I am able to do when I'm 60, you know?
Well, and also it's like such a good example for our kids.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they subconsciously will emulate what we've taught them. And so if we're teaching them good habits, that your health is a priority, if we're teaching them hard work, hopefully those will transcend into them and they will go out and pursue those same qualities because they see the benefits of it. And you just create a life around that.
Well, you've talked about how you've thought about your kids in the middle of a workout where you wanted to quit and you're like, I can't quit.
Will make me cry. Like literally if we're doing like, especially sometimes on those Saturday workouts where they're harder and they're like an hour long and you're just grinding, you know, I'll think about like if my kids were watching me right now, like I would show up better, and it makes me show up better.
That is really nice.
Yeah.
And it's almost more satisfying too when you're putting in so much work and then you can just see the end result of what you've worked for. That always kind of just drives me more too.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why I keep jumping back into school. I'm like, oh, it's only a year. Oh, it's only 2 years.
Yeah.
And then, but I mean, it's always just more knowledge to be gained.
Yeah.
And just a different way that you can use it too. So my biggest thing is like, I want to learn so much, but it's also because I want to be like a resource for people. Like when they have questions, I can help them. Or if they're unsure of how to do something, I can help them.
Yeah.
So.
And you have a vast experience of different things that would help. And I would say, as I've heard you speak about your background, all of those things you've done are very transferable skills into what you're doing now and probably what you're going to do in the future. So,
and I think that's
cool.
why I love, obviously, it took me a while to come to nursing, but in reality, nursing, you can do so many things. You can go in so many different fields. And I think now one of the things that I do subconsciously, obviously you're not going to be the person everyone needs, because that's just not, I don't think that should be an attainable goal, because you need other people to make those connections. So like now in my head, whenever I'm in class, and obviously people like can confide in you and things, I always subconsciously know like, oh, well, so-and-so is going through something similar. And it always just takes an introduction. Obviously nothing ever gets shared of what you guys tell me, but I just like, maybe if they work out together and they'll talk on their own. And a lot of the times it does happen.
I love that.
So I just love bringing people together, because it's like sometimes you know what they need, but you're not that person for them. So kind of helping them find that person that could help even more is always just, that's what I do it for too.
Oh, I
So
love that.
That's cool.
So what's next, Nellie? Like, what does your future look like?
In the next year, I will be done with nursing school.
Nice.
So graduating from there, taking that NCLEX, and as soon as I get certified, just trying to jump right into a nursing job. I was thinking ER. I know for a fact now that I need something fast paced. I like to just kind of get into a routine of we're moving the whole time that we're working. But eventually, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'll stay in the ER forever.
Would you still train?
Yes, I want to. And I think that's the hard part too. Doing it to the level that I do it now, where I'm literally there every day. If I'm not coaching, I'll still go to work out, because I need you guys to get through those workouts just as much as you need each other. But I don't know if it'd be to the same capacity. Just definitely dialing back. But
different seasons. That's awesome. Well, what didn't we ask you that we should have asked you?
What didn't you ask me? I don't know. Honestly, I think you guys asked a lot. You touched a lot of things. I will ask you, what made you guys want to start this podcast? Like, whose idea was it?
That's a good question.
Because I think it's great. I love it.
I think she initially said it. She started listening to podcasts before I did. I was kind of opposed to sitting there for 45 minutes listening to something. I just felt like I needed some shorter tidbits, right? And so I think she probably got that.
Brett, one of our a guy who used to work for me was like, hey, you should do a podcast and I can help you with it. And I'm like, one thing I think that's actually helped me be successful in life is I'm not afraid to try something and fail at it. Like the other day, Ian had me doing this wacky stuff on a listing video, and I was like, oh, this is embarrassing. I don't know if this is going to work, but it worked. And people liked it. But I've also done plenty of things and had them not work out, but I'm not afraid of that. And so, and it really feeds my soul. I love talking to people and hearing their stories and being able to share that. I think there's lessons, like I said at the beginning, that someone else can hear and be inspired or encouraged. And so I just absolutely love getting to do this. And so, for me it was, let's try it. Let's see how it goes, and not being afraid to fail. and just kind of trying to get better with each episode. It's been really fun.
And I would say as a result, like it's been fun to see how many people it impacts. Not that we're saying something, crazy awesome, but just what our guests share for this person, that guest, that talk was what they needed to hear, and for others it's somebody else. But it's been pretty impactful.
Yeah, it's fun.
So it's cool.
Yeah.
I enjoy it because I think it's all about bringing value to what you have, right?
For sure.
Like when you first told me you had a podcast, I was like remembering what you did, and I was like, aren't you do
in real estate?
Yeah. And I was like, that is actually so cool though, because honestly, it doesn't matter what you do, but it's like what value you bring to what you're doing is going to make the biggest impact. Yeah. So I thought I was like, yes, get me on here, Janine.
That's cool. Well, I'm glad you're excited to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we like to end with like a little speed round of fast, rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, what's your favorite workout?
Actually like cardio. I like cardio workouts. I like to just hop around.
Yeah.
My knees hate it, but I will enjoy it for the
good hit
first.
workout?
Yes, exactly.
By the way, Nellie is a stud. Like her push-ups, like everything. She could do pull-ups. I'm always like, oh my gosh, how does she do that? It's so awesome. Do you have a favorite color?
Favorite color is green.
Oh, I love that color. Do you have a favorite drink?
Coffee.
Oh.
Anything caffeinated.
Yeah, isn't that bad? But I do too. Not coffee, but I do love caffeine. All right, do you have a favorite food?
Pasta.
Ooh.
Chicken Alfredo.
Oh,
Always
okay.
my go-to.
That's huge in our house.
My kids love that too. What about a favorite book?
Favorite book? That one's hard. I think it might be the book that I've recently read. It's called 5 Years Later.
Okay.
Or In 5 Years. It's called In 5 Years.
Okay.
This girl, she's living her life because she has a plan. She has a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
She's following it. She has a dream that's very vivid that is nothing of like what she's currently doing.
Oh.
The person in her dream she meets in real life.
Oh.
And so I'll leave it at that because it's
Oh.
actually a really good book.
I bet it's real. I bet it actually happens.
It's a love story, but it's not your typical love story. So
Fun.
I would definitely check it out. It's
I
called
love
In
it.
5 Years.
In 5 years.
Yeah, don't know
I
who's the author
love
is.
to read, so I'm all about it.
She'll get that
It's
one.
a quick read too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite podcast?
I actually, I'm going to say you guys.
Oh, gosh,
now,
no.
Because I was actually trying to get into podcasts this year.
Were you?
Yes. When you're listening to music, especially like music that is very fast tempo, meant to help
time.
you work out all
Yeah.
the time,
Yeah.
sometimes I just
Yeah, I
don't listen
bet.
to anything.
Right?
Yeah. Or it's going to be now I'm listening to more podcasts.
Yeah.
Right?
I am too. It's grown on me.
Yeah.
And if you look at what's happened in society the last couple of years, I think more and more people are getting their news or their information from podcasts.
Well,
So it's pretty cool.
did you guys see the first ever press conference what's her name, Ian? I forget her
Yeah,
name. His Trump's new press secretary said that they're inviting podcasters in to apply for credentials to come into the room to ask questions, which I love.
That
I'm
is
like,
awesome.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
It just shows you the wave of the future. Okay, last but not least, do you have a favorite vacation?
Favorite vacation, like that I've had or been
Yeah.
on? The last trip that we went on was for my sister's 30th, and we went to Cabo.
Fun.
And it was just the girls. It was just us and our other 2 girl cousins, so that was really fun.
That's so fun. I love it. I've been to Cabo.
I was actually just looking at one this morning.
Were you?
Oh, really?
For Cabo, yeah.
Mexico's
fun.
always fun.
It is
That's
fun.
always the answer.
That's
And I
on-
say
that's
that,
on
and
my
I have
list.
been to Europe too, actually, now that I
Really?
think about it, yeah. But it was just fun because of who we were with.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well, Cabo is definitely on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
shortly.
thanks for being with
Yeah,
us,
thanks
Nellie,
for
and
having
sharing
me.
and inspiring all of us. So we appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Real Deal podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, and you can follow us on social media at the Home Selling Team AZ.